Ladies and gentlemen, it is now officially July, which means in a month's time from now, preseason and Steelers football will indeed be back. So I think it is now an appropriate time for the SteelTwins to give you guys their annual bold predictions for the Pittsburgh Steelers upcoming season.
Let's get into it.
Now, with the first bold prediction, man, we're going to start with one that you guys may have already heard of or may have already thought of. When you look at Offensive Rookie of the Year, there's many candidates that come to mind. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence, Jamar Chase, Kyle Pitts, maybe Justin Fields.
Maybe Trey Lance, maybe Rashad Bateman, Travis Etienne, just to name a few.
But I think one of the other top names that could be slept on in terms of that discussion is Najee Harris. Our first bold prediction is Najee Harris wins Offensive Rookie of the Year. Now, before he'd have to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, he'd also possibly have to break some Steelers running back records. And I have a few written down here, such as most rushing yards by a Steelers rookie, which is currently held by Franco Harris, with 1,055, which he did back in 1972 in only 14 games. Which that was obviously the league limitation at the time. Now it's upgraded to 17. So the likelihood of that happening is, I'd say, pretty high for Najee Harris.
No, it's pretty possible. It really is. Steelers have mentioned several times they want to get back to running the ball, and obviously with them selecting Najee Harris with their first-round pick, you know, I can definitely see Najee breaking such a record.
Yeah, or
they want to run the ball very much.
Of course. Most rushing touchdowns by a Steelers rookie in a single season, again, held by Franco Harris, which he did, again, back in 1972. 10 touchdowns. Now, if Najee wanted to go a step further, he could completely break Franco's record for most rushing touchdowns in a single season for the Steelers, which is held at 14, which he did back in 1976, again in 14 games. Of course, now the league game length has gone to 17. So that could happen as well. But, you know, there's also a lot of mouths to feed on the offense, so I don't know exactly how many touchdowns is in Najee Harris's realm for this year at least. But I think he could break or at least tie the record of 10, which is held again by Franco Harris.
I think it's something Steelers should consider at least trying to do is give him the ball, especially in goal line situations,
of course,
and let him get into the end zone. Because if you look at how he was in Alabama, the guy was a touchdown machine. He was a touchdown magnet. He knew how to get into the end zone, whether it was rushing or even receiving. The guy knows how to get into the end zone.
He just has an absolute nose for it, man. Most rushing yards by a Steelers rookie in a single game, held by Bam Morse with 146 back in 1994. Now, I would love to see Najee Harris break 150 in a game or two this year. I'd hope it happens. I think he's definitely more than capable of doing it, possibly getting more than 150, right?
Potentially.
But, you know, it's also still a completely new offense, a new line, a new rushing game overall, which obviously we're all excited for. We're all very optimistic for. The selection of Najee alone increases that optimism. So him breaking Bam Morse's record of 146 and reaching hopefully 150 in a game or two this year, it's likely. I'd hope it happens, but if that's the case, then Najee Harris will definitely become more of a household name, and he'd be leading the way for possibly Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, he could possibly be at the top of the discussion. Now, those are just some rookie rushing. How about rookie receiving from a running back? Like most receiving yards by a Steelers rookie running back, which is actually held by Le'Veon Bell with 399 back in 2013.
That is very possibly going to be broken this year. But at the same time, again, there's too many mouths to feed for the Steelers receiving game. But Najee Harris is just a complete back.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, his receiving game is one of the more underrated aspects of his game.
No doubt. And knowing Ben, I like to think, you know, he likes to throw the ball down to the running backs at times.
Yeah, he likes to check it down sometimes. He's done it the past 10 years, especially when he had guys like Bell and D'Angelo Williams and guys like that, James Conner. Of course, now he's got a complete back in Najee Harris. So Najee Harris could very well break that. Imagine that. And, of course, most receiving touchdowns by a Steelers rookie running back in a single season. You'll never believe who has it.
It's actually Jalen Samuels with 3 back in 2018.
That should definitely be broken. I can definitely see Najee Harris at least having 4 receiving touchdowns this year. Now, those are some Steelers running back records he very well could break this year, which could lead the way to him winning Offensive Rookie of the Year. Now, again, there might be too much hype over Najee Harris, but I just think the revival of the Steelers rushing game and hopefully the O-line at the same time, that might be getting over our head a little bit.
Yeah, we got to admit, maybe we're a little overhyped with Najee. Maybe we're thinking too much expectation from this guy. But it's just the fun fact that he is actually a Steeler, considering how many people thought he was going to be a Steeler, how many people mocked him to be a Steeler, and the fact that he's actually a Steeler and knowing the talent that he possesses, how he was in Alabama, we like to think, Najee can be able to truly revive this rushing attack.
Which, I mean,
it's an old recipe of the Steelers anyway.
Yes, it is. It is literally that's how they built their foundation, was running the ball and great defense, which, I mean, we have a great defense, and I think without a doubt our rushing game compared to last year will definitely be better.
Their communication and their unit is really unknown as of right now, but I still like to think Najee can be able to provide something.
He definitely will. Him alone will definitely revive the rushing game.
I mean, the guy's too talented.
If he were to go the whole way and win Offensive Rookie of the Year, imagine that.
Yeah, exactly.
Our rushing game went from dead last to Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
That'd be incredible. And Najee Harris is a guy that can do it.
No doubt.
Now, our second bold prediction, which I think could be a little too bold, maybe even a little unrealistic, but when I look at it, man, this guy had 9 touchdowns when he was incredibly underutilized last year. I don't want to say his name. You guys already knew who was the offensive coordinator. Now we have Matt Canada at OC, which, I mean, it was obvious last year when you saw he actually had the playbook in hand. You saw how Juju was utilized compared to when Randy had him. Randy Fichtner, I just said his name, he had him play the Ryan Switzer role, where he just played the small 2-yard drags and small 2-yard in and out routes and stuff like that, right? Small hitch routes. He's obviously much more dominating up the middle of the field in the slot.
Yeah.
Which we saw from Juju late in the season when Fichtner didn't have the playbook in hand.
No doubt. Juju, when Fichtner had the playbook in hand, was limited. He was underutilized for the most part.
Incredibly underutilized. It was absolutely sickening.
Even then, Juju was still able to have a pretty nice season. People tend to forget Juju had a very well season. They only forget that because of his TikTok sensation, of his distractions, I'd say.
Yeah, it's not only that, but the fact he didn't even have 900 yards compared to his 97 receptions. And, again, 9 touchdowns. So I think he will definitely be utilized, and I think he has that chip on his shoulder this year. Ever since AB left, and there's been talks if he can't be a number 1, which, I mean, I don't know about that no more, but him actually being a complete X factor and a game changer for this offense, I think is not in question because he most certainly is. He showed that last year. I think he's going to show that again this year and hopefully get an extension at the end of next season. But our bold prediction, revolving around Juju, is Juju Smith-Schuster ties the Steelers franchise record for most receiving touchdowns in a single season, which is currently held by Antonio Brown with 15. We could have went all the way and said he breaks it, but I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
If there's something he can do, I think he'll at least tie it. 15 touchdowns. The most touchdown receptions Juju has ever had in the season was 9. That was last year.
Yeah.
So
and like I said, he was limited because of Fichtner. Now he's got a more open-minded offensive coordinator in Matt Canada. Now, I will say we don't really know how he's going to do yet. We're just going to have to wait till the regular season, but Canada cannot be any worse than Fichtner. There's no way anybody could be any worse than Fichtner. Canada is more open-minded. You saw that when he had the playbook in hand. You saw how he was in the Browns game, in the last game.
Or even the second half of the Colts game and even the Philadelphia game where Claypool had 5 touchdowns. Yeah. Or was it 4? 5? I forget.
He could have had 5, but he had 4. Nonetheless, Juju is very underappreciated when it comes to being a touchdown machine.
He's also very dependable.
I consider him as reliable on this team.
Pretty much.
Because when it came to situations like 3rd or 4th down, Ben always targeted Juju, and 9 times out of 10, Juju was able to make the catch. He was able to make the clutch play. He is Big Ben's reliable right now.
Juju is just so incredibly dependable, and a lot of people forget that. That's why we have him tying Antonio Brown with 15 touchdown receptions. We even contemplated to put in Claypool in this, but one that he's in his 2nd year. I think that'd be too high on the guy, even though you expect Claypool to get a lot of touchdowns here. I mean, he had 11 last year, right, in his limited amount of time.
Yeah.
Even he didn't see a lot of time on the field in the second half of the season. But we put Juju there because I think he'll be one of the more, like you said, reliable or more dependable guys when we get down the middle of the field.
And like you said, he has a huge chip on his shoulder. He stayed with the Steelers when he could have went to the Ravens or the Chiefs for more money. Instead, he stayed with the Steelers for less money, and I think in a way, this is more of a prove-it-year deal for Juju.
Absolutely.
To see if he can get a long-term deal. And if he were to have a breakout season like this with 15 touchdowns, yeah, I mean, the Steelers could definitely try to pay him more money than they gave him and sign him to a long-term deal.
Of course.
And with him wanting to be back with Ben Roethlisberger, you know that connection's going to be probably even better than before.
And that's why Juju stayed. That one last ride with Ben this year, and I think that's going to really boost up Juju this year. Not only that, but, again, the one-year deal, the chip on his shoulder, all the stuff people have been talking about. I think Juju's going to go off this year. At least I hope so, especially with a new offensive coordinator that is creative and will actually utilize his guys to the best of their ability.
Of course. And when it comes to that, this is where our next bowl protection comes into play.
And with the Najee Harris winning Offensive Rookie of the Year and Juju tying the franchise record for most receiving touchdowns in a single season, that all combines to our third bold prediction.
Now, this one is extremely bold, I'd say, but it's something
and honestly, again, going back to Najee, it might be a little too hype on this offense.
But it's something that, could very well happen. The Steelers offense could very well be a sleeper pick to reach this discussion. The Steelers have a top 5 scoring offense.
Yes. Now, when you look at top 5 offenses, you think immediately the Bucs, the Chiefs, the
Bills,
Titans, the Bills,
the Ravens,
maybe the Vikings, maybe the Packers,
maybe even the goddamn Browns.
Yeah, seriously. So putting the Steelers in that discussion is incredibly bold and honestly might be too high on our new additions and new promotions, I'd say. Obviously, the offensive line is going to be the X factor for this season. That will determine how the offense does completely. Because we saw last year when the guys were aging and they played they were showing their age completely. And that hurt the offense a lot.
It did.
So this now young offensive line is going to be the X factor, and it will determine how this offense runs, how the rushing game runs, how much time in the pocket Ben can have. You know what I mean? How much time the receivers can get open and Ben can make those deep passes that hopefully Ben can still connect, right? All that involved, man, it's possible the Steelers could have a top 5 scoring offense because they have a stacked receiving core. There's no question about that. Juju, Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, James Washington, Ray McLeod, right? Eric Ebron's still pretty reliable at times when he's not dropping. Pat Freiermuth is going to have a complete, huge role in this offense, not only as a number 2 this year, being an extra addition on the offensive line as a blocker, possibly in the red zone, right? Get his feet wet as a number 2 this year. Of course, Najee Harris.
Yeah.
So I really love this offense. And, of course, Ben's coming back, his one last ride. This is going to be his last year. I truly believe that. And he's going to, obviously want to get this team to number 7, right? So I think all that combined is really going to wake this offense and make it hungry. Again, too much hype may be on this, being, Najee wins Offensive Rookie of the Year. Juju has 15 touchdowns this year, and the Steelers, you combine that, the Steelers have a top 5 scoring offense. Might be a little too high on the guys, man. Maybe we're just a little too optimistic, but at the same time, I don't want to get too overhyped about them because I'll always end up in disappointment.
Yeah, it's happened to the Steelers for several years now.
But I love what they did this offseason. How Ben took a cheaper deal, how Juju took a cheaper deal to stay with the team, man, and keep that connection going. And they did fix the rushing game and are focusing on the offensive line this year, right? And they finally got rid of Fichtner after 3 years, thankfully.
Definitely bound to be more productive than last year and years prior.
But top 5, maybe a little bold, maybe a little unrealistic compared to all the other offenses in the league. But I love the talent we have. I like what we did this offseason. I'm a little optimistic.
Yeah, it's not far from impossible.
Right.
It's not.
Now we're going to move on to the defense, and this is actually our only defensive bold prediction for this upcoming season because there's not really many we can put on the bold predictions list revolving around the defense because there's not really a lot of bold predictions you can make for the defense because
pretty much whatever you can think they could potentially do,
they will do.
Yeah, when it comes to sacks or interceptions, turnovers, you name it.
But this one I think is bold because he's coming into his second year. He will be replacing Bud Dupree, will be starting opposite of TJ Watt, and a lot of Steelers fans are high on him, man. He is already so far along as an NFL edge rusher, which he got his few at as a rotational guy, started a few games last year when Dupree went down, is working a lot this offseason. He's getting that chemistry going with TJ Watt. It's going to be an exciting duo, possibly even better than Watt and Dupree maybe, just because of how much farther along Highsmith is getting compared to when Dupree started, right? Our bold prediction for Alex Highsmith is he collects double-digit sacks in his second year.
Alex Highsmith, man, he's a guy that we have a lot of expectations on. He's a guy that we really like coming out of college, out of Charlotte. The guy, as you saw, even as a rotational guy, was very productive.
Yes, dude, anytime he got on the field, man, he was a great rotational piece. And even when he stepped in for Dupree, he still applied some great pressure.
Yeah, game by game, you saw how much better he was getting in the pass rush. Now, statistically, he didn't have a lot of sacks. Obviously, for a third-round rookie, I don't expect that.
But stats don't always tell the story. He applied a lot of great pressure. He still helped in the rushing game, man. And coming to his second year, he's only going to grow. And he has an absolute arsenal of pass rush ways to get to the quarterback, to create pressure. Again, coming into his second year is already so far along as an edge rusher in the big leagues. Coming from a small school, was drafted in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
And props to Kevin Colbert because he knew we weren't going to get a long-term deal going for Dupree just because we couldn't afford it.
And you saw the money that Dupree got from the Titans, man.
There's no way we were going to afford that.
No.
That's why Colbert went out of his way in the 3rd round last year after selecting Claypool in the 2nd round to select Alex Highsmith to be the rotational guy, get his feet wet in his rookie year, then take over the Dupree role. That's long-term thinking.
And I like
that's honestly just that's common sense.
Yeah, and I like to think Alex Highsmith himself also has a chip on his shoulder because I remember in the early stages of the offseason, a lot of analysts were saying the Steelers should get an edge rusher. They were having us draft an edge rusher in the 1st round. I'm like, do you honestly not understand who the hell we have? Do you not look at our team?
They totally forgot Alex Highsmith even existed.
I
totally forgot his impact.
These analysts don't look at the team, man. They don't do their research.
Highsmith himself it kind of angered him a little bit because it's like people were totally forgetting about him, or at least they were unknowings of Highsmith, which is silly because he's the guy that stepped in for Bud Dupree, who again was one of the top free agents last year and still did a pretty admirable job.
Oh yeah,
coming into a second year, getting that chemistry going with Watt, with training camp and preseason still to come, man. They're only going to grow together. Highsmith is going to grow all together as a player and continue to advance as an edge rusher. I'm excited for Alex Highsmith this year. He collects double-digit sacks. That's our bold prediction for him.
No doubt.
Now, our last bold prediction. I know some of these may have been a little unrealistic, and when I think of bold predictions, you gotta be bold, but you also gotta be a little realistic. Some of these may have been a little unrealistic, but at the same time, when I think about it, I think they can be a little realistic. Just because, again, Najee winning Offensive Rookie of the Year, he's gonna revive the Steelers' rushing game, man. And he should be one of the top candidates compared to some of the other guys just because the other guys may have some limitations, right? Najee Harris, he's going to be on the field. He's a 3-down back. Juju, 15 touchdowns. He had 9 last year. And he's going to be improved this year. He's actually going to be a little more utilized correctly. And I think he'll be a very dependable target for Ben in the end zone, in the red zone, all over the field, man. And Steelers have a top 5 offense with all that together, the young and promising talent we got with Ben coming back and the new OC. And, of course, Highsmith collecting double-digit sacks. All this leads to our final bold prediction, man. Steelers win Super Bowl 56.
Yep, we said it. That's our final bold prediction. Steelers win Super Bowl 56.
Now, it's funny because at the start of the offseason, after our loss last season against the Browns, right, at the end of the season, we were obviously not very optimistic towards this season about Ben, all that stuff, right?
And you know the
even
departures we were going to have Dupree, Juju, Hilton, Sutton, you know, those guys that we all had to resign in our cap issues. It wasn't looking promising.
No, and seeing what the Steelers did, it honestly it turned out a lot better than I thought. And seeing what they did in the draft, I am actually very proud. And I should never doubt Kevin Colbert and Mike Tomlin and company.
Or even Omar Khan, you know?
No.
Guys like that in the office, you know, they know it's why they have the job they have. They know how to get it done.
Yes.
Somehow, some way, they know how to keep their guys. If some people leave, they know who to get to replace them. They know how to do their job.
Because they're already planning in advance. And that's exactly what they did the past 3-4 years now.
Yeah.
So Steelers win Super Bowl 56. Now, again, at the end of last season, we immediately said we're not going to win the Super Bowl this upcoming year. And a part of me still thinks that. Because just look at the other teams in the league.
Yeah.
The Titans have improved. The Chiefs got a new O-line. The Bucs, I think the Bucs are actually going to repeat. I truly do, because who the hell did they lose?
Yeah, they brought everybody back.
Literally everybody. So, honestly, the Steelers win Super Bowl 56 is very bold. I don't think it's completely out of the realm of possibility because you should never, ever doubt the Pittsburgh Steelers. They are a winning culture. They've been a winning culture since 1969. You should never doubt them.
No.
Never doubt
you
Mike
shouldn't.
Tomlin either. People are already saying we're not having a losing season. It's going to be our first losing season under Mike Tomlin. I don't see how that's possible. I truly don't see how that's possible. I don't get why people even say that.
I guess because we have the toughest schedule in the league and because of our downfall from last year. I can see from their perspective, but it's like, dude, when Mike Tomlin lost Ben Roethlisberger in 2019, it's like he didn't even have a losing season. Somehow, some way, he managed to go 8-8. They actually were out of the playoffs in the last week.
And everyone's already completely doubting Ben again, which is no surprise to Steelers Nation.
No surprise. It's no surprise that they're doubting Ben or even this team.
And again, hey, we've doubted him. We said it itself. He needs to retire. He just needs to retire this year. We need to focus on the future of the quarterback position. Honestly, if we would have done that, I think that would have harmed the offseason a little even more because our entire focus would have been completely changed when we're trying to fix this rushing game.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't think Ben is that bad of a quarterback.
No.
Now, he's not Ben. He's not old Ben. He's not prime Ben no more, obviously. He's going to need help, which he truthfully didn't have last year. Let's be real.
No.
Now, of course, Ben's decision-making completely harmed us at the end of last year. It really did. There was a lot of bad decisions, a lot of bad throws, a lot of bad reads from Ben, which is our main concern with Ben. There's no doubt, in my opinion, he still has the arm power. He can still get that deep throw going, right? It's just the O-line did him no favors. The OC clearly did him no favors. Receivers kept dropping passes.
And the lack of a rushing game obviously did him no favors.
And now we have all that fixed, pretty much.
Outside of the O-line. The O-line is obviously the biggest concern.
That's the biggest question mark, correct. But compared to last year's, I think it will be better just because it's more younger, stronger, healthier, fresh talent.
Yes.
So I think all that combined is definitely going to help Ben and make him even better this year. And I'm truthfully, I want to say I am optimistic about
considering
us
how
possibly
we were,
winning the Super
considering
Bowl.
how we were last year. You know, we were not optimistic whatsoever.
No.
And in some ways, we still aren't. But it has grown because of what the Steelers have done in the offseason.
And again, I don't want to get too hyped up. I don't want to get too optimistic. Otherwise, I'll end up in disappointment once again.
Yeah,
I've done that to myself a few times these past few years when I actually thought the Steelers were going to win the Super Bowl. And 3, 4, 5 months, 6 months ago, I said we're not going to win the Super Bowl. And here I am seeing what the Steelers did in the offseason. I'm a little more optimistic. Do I seriously think they will? No. But we're going to put it as a bold prediction because it's not out of the realm of possibility.
No, especially when you look at the team.
The Steelers are always best when they're slept on. Ben's always best when he's slept on, right? And we should never doubt the Pittsburgh Steelers and their winning culture.
But you also got to think, we have said that year in and year out.
I know
year.
we do.
And we end up in disappointment. We failed. We failed for freaking 13 years, man. The last time we won a Super Bowl, obviously Super Bowl 43. But the last time we've been back was Super Bowl 45. We have not even been able to make it back in 10 years, man.
10, 11 years.
It's quite disappointing considering the talent that we have possessed. Now, I understand that our defense throughout the most of the 2010 decade was awful, and our offense was pretty much the only saving grace, was pretty much the only reason why we were able to even make it to the playoffs. But now that we have a talented offense, a new OC, Big Ben, if he can limit the mistakes. You got Najee Harris reviving the rushing game, hopefully, which I think he will. You got great receivers. You know, if they can limit the drops, because I think there will be some drops, but if they can limit it, then that would be great. If the offensive line can hold their own, that'd be great. And you look on the defense, you got Devin Bush coming back that's about to lead the way at the linebacker core, to lead the front seven. You got a great pass rush. You got TJ Watt pretty much making quarterbacks piss their pants. You got Alex Highsmith ready to fucking break out. Same with Cameron Sutton at the cornerback position. Joe Hayden's still a capable lockdown corner at his age. Minka Fitzpatrick's Minka Fitzpatrick. And goddamn it, I'll even say Terrell Edmonds is starting to come into his own. The way I see it, the way I look at it, this team, I feel, and I like to think this team can be able to do it. It's just a matter if they can really show up in big games. And show up when it matters the most, like they were back then in December football. Lately, we have been awful. If you look at our resume the past few years, it's pretty much a losing record. It's not good. That's why this team, the talent that they possess, and even the coaches, can't forget about the coaches.
Yes, the coaching staff will be very, it's going to rely on coaching again this year.
Yeah, if Mike Tomlin can show up in big games, if Matt Canada can revive this offense, if Keith Butler can stop putting linebackers on wide receivers and actually come up with a great defensive game plan.
Well, you know that's not going to happen.
Well, of course not. Of course not. All I'm saying is wishful thinking. But it comes as an NFL fan. We all like to wishfully think of how our teams can produce on the field, how we can potentially claim a Lombardi trophy. But I like to think with this team that it is possible. It really is. I like to think so. Do I think it could happen? I'm mixed. I like to say yes, but at the same time I look back at no. But I just don't know right now. I really don't. But that's why the Steelers need to come into this regular season, pretty much play every game like it is their last, take it one game at a time, and just show everybody why we are the best goddamn franchise in NFL history.
I don't know where all that came from, but that was incredible. And preach. Seriously.
Well, that was built up, man. I just want to see another trophy, dude. It's been long overdue.
No, you're right.
It's been long
you're
overdue.
Right. And
quite frankly, I don't mean to interrupt you, but with Big Ben pretty much doing one last ride, you know Ben's going to want it. Ben said it for several years. He wants to win another Lombardi. He wants to. And I know him and himself, with how he was in the playoff game, he's going to have a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
He wants to win one for his family, for his kids. He's going to want to win one for this team. We have been all wanting number 7 to win us number 7. And at times we have been close.
And this is our last chance.
This is one last ride. And it is not, impossible for legends and Hall of Famers to go out with a ring. Look at Jerome Bettis. Look at Ray Lewis. Look at Michael Strahan. John Elway. Peyton Manning. They've all went out with rings. I like to think that Ben can also add himself in that discussion.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Yeah, you're right. I completely agree. I'm the same way. I'm mixed. But that's our final bold prediction, man. Steelers win Super Bowl 56. Is it possible? I'd like to think so.
Yeah.
But, again, with all these bold predictions, man, especially revolving around the offense, I don't want to get too hype. Otherwise, I'll just end up in disappointment once again.
Of course.
That's why I keep telling myself. But those are some of our bold predictions, man. If you guys have any bold predictions yourself, please put them down below, man. Love to hear from you guys, as always. And we'll be back next week with, I believe, our 53-man roster prediction.
That's going to be interesting, so definitely stay tuned for that.
Yes. So training camp is pretty much coming aboard very shortly in the next few weeks. And then, of course, the preseason and regular season is just around the corner. It is July. It is finally July. In a month's time, we will finally be able to watch football again.
Yes, even football is fastly approaching, guys. I am excited. I can't wait.
It's awesome. So let us know you guys' thoughts and bold predictions down below, of course. And I'll see you guys next week, man.
Like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you later.
Peace!